Your Humanities Half-hour is brought to you by the Northern Marianas Humanities Council.
Welcome to Your Humanities Half-hour. I'm Catherine Perry. And joining us today on our show are two individuals here to offer us some hope for the new year and some hope in the aftermath, of course, of Super Typhoon Yutu. It's my pleasure to introduce Pastor Fred Fatialofa and Queayla Sablan. They're both prevention specialists with the Community Guidance Center here in the Marianas. Welcome to the show, guys.
Hafaday, Tito, Sinamai.
Hello.
It's really nice to have you guys here. The new year is just around the corner, and of course people are thinking about getting physically fit. I'm going to go to the gym, I'm going to eat healthier, and which is all great, but I also feel that mental health is so important, and it's not something we really think about. We kind of take it for granted sometimes, and so I'm so happy that you guys could come and share your expertise. For those that don't know, tell us a little bit about the Community Guidance Center and what you guys offer.
CGC is under the hospital, CHCC. We have a variety of services. We all have different programs. We have the recovery program. We have our systems of care, which caters to more kids in the school. And
Nice.
then we have our program, the Garrett Lee Smith Youth Suicide Prevention Program. So we service ages 10 to 24, and we do mostly suicide prevention and brief intervention.
And also we have the day program, which is an outpatient program at the Transitional Living Center there in Navy Hill, where we work with a lot with those that are maybe dealing with a mental health diagnosis. Some of them that have gone through the inpatient at the psych ward there at CHCC. So we do a day program with them and managing management skills, daily living skills, even with their medication, even some of them that are receiving disability, a stipend monthly. And so we do that as well as part of Community Guidance Center.
Oh, it sounds like you guys have a lot to offer, both those with greater need and maybe those still with needs. And it's really nice to know that you're open to the community like that. So Super Typhoon Yutu came through, and it's a joke, but it's kind of not, because I realized I developed a little bit of typhoon brain myself, where like I would forget a particular word that I was trying to find, or I'd be in the middle of something and kind of forget what I was supposed to do next. And I think it was maybe somehow related to what we were going through. What do you see the community or individuals you meet with going through as a result of this disaster and disasters in general?
I think one thing that's very evident, I know, not just with a natural disaster, but in everyday life, trauma is something that happens in everybody's life, whether it is to do with a natural disaster, but even things that are more closer to home, like death of loved one,
Right.
Loss
Divorce,
of a job,
maybe. Yeah.
Things that happen in families, relationship-wise, whether it is divorce, even within like some of the youth that we work with, they have challenges with their parents, because they're, there's changes, that we're going from adolescent to now being teenagers to being independent individuals. So we notice that a lot of them are dealing with some kind of trauma or some kind of challenge, but then how they go about dealing with it, especially with, let's say, one who's a family who's still maybe waiting for power to be restored in their home. We see more frequently a lot of them, the way they'll cope with, whether it's as mentioned by Kay, we have areas in recovery where substance, a lot of them now will even turn to substance. Some will even maybe become more closed off. Some dealing with depression, or because of what happened on that night when Typhoon Yutu hit our islands. it's very evident, and so we hope and what we do in our line of work is to offer the support and offer the services that we have available for our community in dealing with these different challenges.
What are some symptoms that a person might have that would be an indication that they are going through something as a result of, as you said, some of these traumas? The reason I ask is because I actually saw a list recently, and one of my close family members had the leg shakes after the typhoon, and we just thought it was like a normal getting older type of thing. But according to this list, that could be a sign of stress following a trauma. So what might people be experiencing that they should be aware of?
Right. So there are like different types of reactions. There's the physical reactions, right? That you might get stomach ache, headache. Some people feel like their body is numb. That's some physical. There are like emotional and behavioral. So if they hear rain, they start having flashbacks. If they're having trouble sleeping, if they're feeling tired throughout the day, and it's not like your normal tired, it's constantly tired, like fatigue, you know. And then if you have trouble remembering things, you know, if you're confused sometimes, there's a lot of things to look at. You know, there's like when someone's sick, right, you have to have all these what is it,
Analysis,
warning signs and stuff like that. So there are those are just some of many. I think here in the CNMI, a lot of us just went through like emotional and like behavioral, because this was our first big super typhoon in a long time, you know, and it was different than Sodalor because it was stronger, and not a lot of people, I mean, everybody doesn't expect to have their house blown away or, you know, lost family member and stuff like that.
So I guess for our listeners, if you've experienced any of this, good news, you're normal.
Yes.
And also good news, you guys are here to help. You were going to say, Pastor Fred?
But like even with how we say with Typhoon Sodalor, we now one thing we missed that with FEMA responding and all the response that we had, relief efforts that came to our island, we also now have the crisis counseling program that is now being mobilized for all three islands. With Rhoda was with Typhoon Manggut and on here, and so hopefully getting those individuals trained up, and that's one thing that we're hoping to have them going out to our community to again as another service we want to offer to especially our families in our community, and dealing with the trauma and what we've experienced with Typhoon Yutu.
What could you share a few of the coping skills that you teach that maybe some of our listeners would like to try to adapt on their own to try to, you know, deal with some of the stresses that they go through or that we go through? What's a good way to some initial steps that a person might consider to help themselves through this type of experience?
I would say seek out support. You know, it doesn't have to be a therapist or a doctor. You know, that's good for your safety, but you know, a lot of people don't realize that we do have natural coping skills. It's just that we don't think of it as natural coping skills. So like speaking with a family member, you know, because everybody went through this Super Typhoon Yutu, right? So we all have our own experiences, and sharing that experiences, knowing that you're not alone, because especially with Typhoon Yutu, we saw, you know, even us as counselors, we felt grief, right, for what happened and loss of stuff. So, you know, seeking that support, that's one really good one. Exercising, you know, it doesn't have to be at the gym. It can be moderate exercise, walking, you know, cleaning your house. You know, cleaning is one coping mechanism. So those simple coping skills, you know, that people might not realize they're coping skills, but you know, it is coping, because there are not good ways of coping.
And I think other, especially with those that are still waiting for power to return, we've found a lot more families have found time to do things together, being outdoor more, like our family, we were literally camping outdoors, because no power, and we were thankful that we were able to have water provided for us, and so we even doing things out, we're literally camping, like hand washing, because laundries, a lot of laundry mats were not available, washing machines, and so those were some really fun experiences and I think, like what Queayla said, is really having tell stories, and even maybe, I don't know whether some of the children when going back to school, and whether in the classroom they can really begin to compile stories and really share their experiences, and I think that's another way of really helping get through this trauma, and this, because we really made the history books with this Typhoon Yutu.
Yeah, I've heard several people say that in listening to other people, they find that it makes them feel better, which kind of like, tend to be more of a practical person. I'm like, okay, what is your need and how can I help meet it? But actually just being there for people and allowing them to express whatever they felt is helpful, apparently.
Mm-hmm. That's how we do, like with our program, the suicide prevention. That's mainly our focus. We're there to listen, get it out of their chest, and make sure that they're being heard, and that they're not alone in this. That's basically what our program does. It's just good release of tension.
All right. When we come back, we'll talk more about some of the other services you provide, including your youth suicide prevention program. We'll be back after this break.
Did you know that you can donate up to $5,000 to the Humanities Council through the CNMI Education Tax Credit Program? Donations from individuals and corporations qualify and can be used to offset your local wage and salary tax, BGRT, and earnings tax. Call our office at 235-4785 to see how you can support humanities programs in our community and obtain a tax credit for your donation. Sizuus Maasi, Olomai, and thank you.
Welcome back to your Humanities Half-hour. We're talking about good mental health today with Pastor Fred Fatialofa and Queayla Sablan, prevention specialists with the Community Guidance Center. Guys, as I mentioned, a lot of people are thinking about physical fitness for the new year, but I really believe in this whole balance of mind, body, and spirit. Do you find that in your work at all?
Yes, but I would say we do. I personally believe that too, in mind, body, and spirit. It's just because if it's in sync, if it's all in one, I don't know, I feel like your day is better, your mind is at ease, your body is at ease, your spirit is at ease. With our program, where our program believes in that, that's why we have Pastor Fred. He's like really our spiritual aspect. He brings it in. We do really promote physical and mental well-being.
Yeah, I think this is what we really try to look at, and what we offer and what we do in our line of work is to really look at ourselves in a holistic way. As you said, that there should be a balance overall, with our work and what we do outside of work, what we do in our community, and even internally as well, with the physical side, the mental side, but also whether it's faith or whether it's spiritual, whether it's I think just having that balance is something that we always look at in our line of work when working with our youth, even when working with our community. And that's something that what we do with our program, even when there's events going on, we really try to get out there and get involved and participate with what's happening around our community as much as often.
Let's talk a little bit more about your youth programs. What are some of the common challenges that you find youth facing today?
A lot of the youth now that are coming through our program, that are being referred to our office, to our program, are really dealing. A lot of them is to do with relationships, whether it's first-time relationships with, in high school, middle school, boyfriend and girlfriend, but also even relationships at home with parents, as I mentioned earlier. There's always those challenges, the changes that our youth are going through, with especially our middle schoolers with puberty and the changes in their character and their personality. Those are some of the things that we're always dealing with. Also, another one especially with our youth from our middle school, even transitioning from elementary to middle school. We've been working with a lot who are really finding it hard to transition to a new setting, a new school setting, and maybe making new friends, trying to fit into that social environment that they are now part of. So those are some of the main cases that we're working with in the GLS Youth Suicide Prevention Program.
I think most parents would say that their relationship, of course, with their spouse and also with their children is most important to them. What advice can you give to parents to really nurture a good, open relationship with their child, where if their child is feeling some of these things, they can talk to their parents and feel safe and feel loved? How do parents make that relationship open and safe for their children?
I would say be honest with your kids, and openly honest. Kids nowadays, they're very fast to adapt and very fast to understand. So I would say be open and allow for that communication. Safe communication, because
what does safe communication look like?
No yelling.
Okay.
None of the whole I know what you've been through because I went there. We are. This is a new generation. It's a sensitive generation. We just have to watch our words and be respectful. But at the same time, we also teach the kids, that from a parent's perspective, they really care about your safety. They've been through that, so they know what it's like, right? And they don't want you to go through that, so that's why they're kind of hard on kids. So with our program, we do teach. We talk to the kids, but we also talk to the parents because safety is the primary concern. But we also want them, because they have to go home to parents too. So we don't want to give parenting lessons, but we do want to suggest open communication, being honest, and knowing. Giving your kids boundaries, safe boundaries. So.
You mean the boundaries that they always complain about?
Yes.
But give them boundaries nonetheless.
I think that's been one, we notice that a lot with some of our youth and parents, especially having that, it seems like for a lot of our youth, their way of, I guess their coping mechanism has always been now, of course, with this day and age with technology, and it's always been the Wi-Fi. It's always been these devices. But we've always maybe even spoken to parents. I think when your child is on X amount of hours, there may need to be some protective factors you need to maybe set in place that of course you can allow your child to be on the internet, be on their device, to view their programs, but only to certain times when you find that they're on it right through the night, especially with our older youth. Then maybe we may need to, while they're still of age, being under our care as parents, we may need to set some parameters in place just for that safety purpose. Because we notice with some of our youth, in the way they're dealing with stress. Of course, that this is the thing about social media. We're going to go online, write about it, post about it, show our frustration, express our emotions, which is a great thing. But then we also want to keep their safety in mind. But which has worked in some ways where we're able to respond to some of these situations in our community because a friend or family member saw the post, saw something that was put out there on some of these social media avenues that we have, and been able to make the call, been able to allow us to respond to some of these situations.
You talk about technology. Can we talk a little bit about our cultures here in the Marianas, and in what way our cultural practices may kind of either enhance our good mental health, or maybe go against, work against us kind of in being healthy people all around?
Like, especially here, religion is a big, religion is incorporated a lot into our culture. So we kind of promote that. We promote the spirituality of it, like seeking, talking to your pastor, talking to your poly, talking to whoever's in the ministry, I think one thing with our program, one limitation that our culture puts on it is that we don't address the suicidality, the S word, and when we do talk with our parents about it, a lot of them still have the mentality like they kind of do like reverse psychology. They'll tell their kids, go ahead, so our program, we kind of teach that, like, you shouldn't, if a child is expressing suicidal behaviors, you shouldn't be
that sounds like something I could believe.
You shouldn't be pushing it, like, don't say, okay, do it, we're not saying to do that. That's one thing I think our culture is has been used to, and we're trying to change that within our society.
Another thing I've noticed with especially with our culture, not just here in the CNMI, but our island cultures, some of the trainings and some of the we've been able to offer through our program, and there's always been that mention that we need to still show that tough love to today's generation, especially when they were saying something about someone mentioned something. Oh yeah, when us in our time, when you mention the word suicide, some of we get the response, oh, you're thinking of suicide, oh, okay, you try it, yeah. Or they even like edge you on, and so, and what we do, we know times are changing, and we want to be more empathetic, we want to be more concerned and for what's going on, especially in our communities, to really show that empathy and that concern, and safety for when we're dealing, especially in these kind of crises where suicide is mentioned, where someone is dealing with this kind of emotional distraught. So we always want to say, with our culture of our island, yes, we are a resilient people, we are, but at the same time we still need to show that concern, show that care, show that support to reach out and make sure that this individual gets the safest and service that we can often provide from what we do in our line of work.
Queayla, you mentioned about support systems and like reaching out to people and listening to those who need somebody to listen to. How can we best support each other? How can the community look out for these kids who are exhibiting some warning signs? Or how can we help ourselves recognize that there's something, maybe some habits, emotional habits, responses, reactions, negative thinking that we need to deal with, or that we have the opportunity to deal with? How can we be there for each other, basically, as a community?
I think, I would like to compliment, like here in the CNMI, it's good that we're a small community, and that we do, we already have that in us, that we care about other people, even if you're not from here necessarily, because even in our program, we've had incidences where a friend had to call our program, because they were concerned, and they found out through social media, so they called our program, so that's the really good thing about our island, is that we still have the mentality, like, even if we sense a concern, we tell someone, and then it goes down the line. I do I would say, if you don't know your resources, ask. There is the hospital. Call our main line, 234-8950. They'll record it, and then we call, even our program, we call the hospital every day to see, if anybody needs services. So we do recommend calling the hospital. You can call our program. If you know of any program, you can just call CGC itself. But even for, if people are having that second thought whether they want to get professional help or they want to seek support, I do recommend that, it doesn't hurt to get help. We're not going to tell you what to do, like as counselors. We just want to be there for you. We just want to listen. We don't judge. We want you to get it out of your system. We don't want you holding it in anymore.
Well, I want to thank you both for your time today. Any final thoughts before we go?
I think just for our listeners, and especially our beautiful community, that just to know that we have these services available. And I know when it comes to mental health, when it comes to talking about suicide, even recovery, I know there is still that thought out there whenever you're referred to CGC, or when you come to our that there's an understanding that there is something wrong with you, that there are always these prejudgments that when you're needing therapy or you're needing, but we just want to really just say to our community, these services are for our well-being, because like as we shared, it's about building ourselves up holistically, mind, body, and spirit. And so I just want to, from my side, being even being a faith-based person of faith, a pastor, that I encourage that if you're in need of our service, please come and call us, come and see us. We are more than willing to sit down and see what supports that you are in need of for your family, for you, especially for our youth. And I'm passionate about what I do, and just really believe in these programs that we're here for the betterment of our community, making us forever Mariana strong and a stronger CNMI. So I'm just thankful for this opportunity just to come and share and voice out our services and our love and support for our community.
Right. I agree with everything Fred said. I do, thank you for having us today. And for everybody out there, I just want to let them know that, with our program and with CGC in general, we're here for you. We want to support you in the best way we can. Even if it doesn't have to be you're having thoughts of suicide, it can be, you're having stress from the typhoon. We just want you to know that CGC is out here for you. We're here to listen and just do whatever we can to make you feel, a little bit better, because a little hope goes a long way.
Absolutely. Give us your contacts again at CGC, if you would.
All right. So the CGC's main number is 323-6560, and then our program, the Garrett Lee Smith Youth Suicide Prevention Program, our number is 664-5483, which is 664-LIFE, and then we also have 664-HOPE. So those are our two numbers.
Pastor Fred, Queayla, thank you so much for sharing
you
today. And on behalf of the Northern Marianas Humanities Council, we'd love to hear your thoughts on our discussion today. What steps have you taken in your life to help improve your mental health? You can contact us at email info@nmhcouncil.org. That's info@nmhcouncil.org. Or it's easier if you're on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter. We are 670 Humanities. This has been your Humanities Half Hour. I'm Catherine Perry. Yay!
This program was supported by a We the People grant awarded to the Northern Marianas Humanities Council from the National Endowment for the Humanities. Any views, findings, conclusions, or recommendations expressed in this program are those of the participants and do not necessarily represent those of the National Endowment for the Humanities or the Northern Marianas Humanities Council.